Welcome to another session brought to you by the Learning Resource Center. My name is Terry Griffin, and in this session called Reading for Meaning, I'm going to be sharing with you some strategies that you can use at home with your child to help them become a reader who understands the text better. One of the questions that many parents have asked me over the years regarding comprehension is, how can I help my child to understand what they're reading? They really seem kind of bored. They just read through because they have to. And one of the keys in building comprehension skills is active engagement. So I'm going to show you some ways that you can help your child to become actively engaged in the text and therefore increase comprehension. Some of the materials you'll need are some highlighters, sticky notes, a pen and pencil, and whatever text you're going to be reading. The text I'm going to be modeling for you is one by Lois Lowry called Number the Stars. I chose it because it's used in many upper elementary classrooms across the country. It is set in Copenhagen, Denmark, back in 1943 when Nazi soldiers were invading Denmark. You'll need to become familiar, be one step ahead of your child in knowing what the story is about. You can read the back cover together, give them whatever background you think they might need for this story first, and teach them how to highlight, annotate, take some notes, and ask some really good questions. Talk about the front cover. I wonder who that little girl is. Ask questions. Why is it called Number the Stars? What's with the necklace that's there? So as you ask questions together, they will want to continue to read on. So I will first start modeling. I'm going to read out loud. I always love to do that first, even though your child is in upper elementary and they're doing a lot of the reading on their own. There's something to be said for modeling fluent reading for them as well. So I always just like to start off by doing that. You can share the reading from time to time if you'd like as well. This chapter is called Why Are You Running? Ready, she said. Go, shouted Anne-Marie, and the two girls were off, racing along the residential sidewalk. Anne-Marie's silvery blonde hair flew behind her, and Ellen's dark pigtails bounced against her shoulders. Well, I'm going to stop right there because already we questioned, I wonder who that little girl is, and I think we found the answer. So you or your child are going to record on the sticky. I know the picture on the front is Anne-Marie because of her hair color. So you have a little bit of background about a character, and then you're just going to continue on. The corner was just ahead. Anne-Marie looked up, panting, just as she reached the corner. Her laughter stopped. Her heart seemed to skip a beat. Halt! The soldier ordered in a stern voice. The German word was as familiar as it was frightening. Anne-Marie had heard it often enough before, but had never been directed at her until now. Behind her, Ellen also slowed and stopped. Far back, little Kirsty was plodding along, her face in a pout because the girls hadn't waited for her. Anne-Marie stared up. There were two of them. That meant two helmets, two sets of cold eyes glaring at her, and four tall, shiny boots planted firmly on the sidewalk, blocking her path to home. And it meant two rifles, gripped in the hands of the soldiers. She stared at the rifles first. Then, finally, she looked into the face of the soldier who had ordered her to halt. Now, at this point, I would stop and question and think out loud for my child and encourage them to question as well. I might say, well, this is a really scary story so far. I don't understand. What kind of a town do they live in? That they're just running along, having a good time, and soldiers show up with rifles and telling them to halt, to stop. And they encourage a conversation with your child. It would really make them want to read on and find out what's going on next. So I wanted to just model that a little bit. You can kind of get the idea how it will go on. Also, this is Number the Stars, just with a different cover, just to show you a student that became independent with this type of modeling. And one part in particular, I wanted to show you once they have found an answer to a question, they will want to go back, put a big A on it to show that's the answer to the question. It says, why was Ellen staying with Anne Marie's family? And then they read on, got the answer, came back to the sticky and recorded Ellen's parents were hiding. So I'm hoping that that will help you a little bit, show you how your child can record and think and want to continue to read on. This is a nonfiction book. It's a little bit different in that your child needs to pay attention really to captions and pictures and charts and graphs. So you'll want to approach that a little differently. It's called I Spy Wild Ways Animals See the World. And of course, you'll want to talk about it. You can record things on the front just as you did in the other book. I always heard dogs are colorblind. I wonder if that's true. I wonder if I'm going to find the answer out in this book. And you can see this is the type of book where it's really important to pay attention to, like I said, all of the captions and teach your child as well. Early on, a question was asked about, well, how do we know about how animals see? They can't tell us. And then on the next page, we found out that scientists have performed lots of studies. But I especially wanted to show you one particular page. What you could do is copy that page onto another piece of paper. And in your packet, you have this where you can make copies of that, or just print it out if you have access to a printer, and do some highlighting and some annotating on the side and asking of questions. Two of my favorite authors wrote a book called Reading Nonfiction, Kylene Beers and Robert Probst. And they say as children are reading nonfiction books, they should be asking 3 questions. I only have time to talk about the first one. The first one being, what surprised me? That's big question number 1. So even if the children read through and think and record, what surprised you as you're reading? They're thinking. It's forcing them to do some thinking. And in doing so, they will be asking really valuable questions and want to read on to find out the answers to those questions. Just some of the recording I did here. 3 colors or 2, mammals. So I wrote, so I think I will find out here that mammals see in 3 colors, and some of them see in 2, but I'm confused. We're thought of as in the mammal kingdom, and some of us, we see in lots of colors. So I'm a little confused there. And the beginning of the book talked about that. Right here, this is the part that surprised me. 5,000 species of mammals. So I highlighted that and said, wow, that surprises me. That's a lot. And more often than not, when you're surprised by something, it generates more questions. Right here, it says some mammals have great vision and some see poorly or even blind. Which animals are blind? So I'm hoping to read on and find that out as well. At the bottom here, more questions. I'm not going to go through every detail because it's really the point that I want to make, but I still have questions. So the more recording that a child does, the more thinking they're going to do. So encourage them with nonfiction especially. Ask big question number 1, what surprises me, and record that. So I'm hoping that you have a few strategies that you found that you can start using with your child. And like I had said before, the biggest thing, model, 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 and then little by little, give the task to them so they can take it on board. And that's the key to them becoming a more independent reader and comprehending their story more and being more actively engaged. So thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or want to talk more about big question number 2 and big question number 3, which are vitally important as well, you can email me at griffint@rowan.edu. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.